What if the most devastating defeat in Germany's history didn't happen on the beaches of Normandy, but in the forests and marshes of Belarus? Welcome to Operation Bagration, the Soviet offensive that annihilated an entire German army group and changed the fate of World War II. Summer 1944. As the world's attention is fixed on D-Day in the West, a storm is gathering in the East. Here, the Red Army faces three-quarters of Adolf's forces. The fate of Europe will be decided not just in France, but in the heart of the Soviet Union. By spring 1944, the tide on the Eastern Front has turned. The Soviet army, battered but resilient, now enjoys a 2-to-1 manpower advantage. But it's not just about numbers. The Red Army has learned from its mistakes, evolving its tactics and leadership. Soviet commanders, drawing from the lessons of the 1920s and 30s, embraced the doctrine of deep battle, not just breaking through enemy lines, but shattering the enemy's entire defensive system with successive, unpredictable blows. Army Group Center, once the tip of the spear aimed at Moscow, now holds a vast salient in Belarus. German intelligence is convinced the next Soviet attack will come in the south. Meanwhile, the Soviets launch a masterclass in deception called masterstroke. Fake radio traffic, camouflage, and civilian evacuations mislead the Germans. Most of their armored reserves are sent south, leaving Army Group Center dangerously exposed. For a change, Stalin allows his commanders to operate with real independence. Across 4 massive Soviet fronts, the Red Army gathers a staggering advantage. Nearly 4 times as many troops, 10 times the artillery, and 8 times the number of tanks and armored vehicles. But their goal isn't just to reclaim land. They aim to utterly crush the German army on the battlefield. Before the main assault, 130,000 Soviet partisans strike behind German lines. On June 19, 1944, they detonate 10,000 charges, crippling railways and supply routes. The Germans are trapped, their ability to reinforce or retreat shattered. June 22, 1944. 3 years to the day since Operation Barbarossa, the Red Army unleashes a hurricane of artillery and airstrikes. The bombardment is so intense that German survivors call it the most destructive they have ever faced. Soviet infantry and armor surge forward. Unlike earlier offensives, the Red Army now shows remarkable operational flexibility, shifting attacks, bypassing strong points, and exploiting breakthroughs. The first blows fall near Vitebsk and Orsha. At Vitebsk, German forces are quickly encircled. At Orsha, the 78th Sturm Division puts up fierce resistance, but Soviet tank armies simply shift north to exploit gaps elsewhere. In the south, Soviet forces build roads through the marshes to encircle Bobruisk, trapping 2 more German corps. Adolf's no-retreat orders turn these cities into death traps. By June 28th, Army Group Center is in chaos. Soviet pincers threaten to encircle the entire front near Minsk. Adolf replaces General Busch with Walter Model, but it's too late. Reinforcements are scarce, and the Soviets are advancing at breakneck speed. Soviet mobile units, riding on American Lend-Lease trucks, race through the gaps. German forces attempt desperate delaying actions, but the Red Army's momentum is unstoppable. On July 3rd, Minsk falls. Over 100,000 German troops are trapped in another massive pocket. Surrounded and running low on supplies, the trapped Germans break into small groups, hoping to escape through forests teeming with Soviet partisans. Most are captured or killed. The roads west are littered with wrecked vehicles and abandoned equipment. In just 3 weeks, Army Group Center has ceased to exist as a fighting force. German losses are staggering. Close to 30 divisions destroyed, around 450,000 killed, wounded, or captured. Soviet casualties are also high, over 770,000, but the Red Army has achieved its greatest victory. On July 17, 1944, 50,000 German POWs are paraded through Moscow in a grim victory march. Most will never see home again, perishing in Soviet labor camps. The Red Army doesn't stop. They push on to Grodno, Bialystok, and Brest, advancing 20-25 kilometers per day. In the north, the Soviets drive toward the Baltic, threatening to cut off Army Group North. In the south, another encirclement at Brody delivers yet another blow to the Germans. With Soviet troops at the gates of Warsaw, the Polish Home Army launches an uprising. But the Soviets halt their advance, offering little support. The uprising is crushed and the city is devastated. Tens of thousands are killed or sent to camps. The destruction is immense. Belarus is left in ruins, its cities and villages razed, its people devastated. German POWs face brutal conditions in Soviet camps, with hundreds of thousands dying from starvation and forced labor. Despite its scale, Operation Bagration remains overshadowed in the West by D-Day. The reasons are complex. Western focus on Normandy, the Cold War, and the downplaying of Soviet achievements in popular culture. Operation Bagration didn't just destroy an army group, it broke the back of Germany on the Eastern Front. Without it, the road to Berlin would have been far longer and bloodier. Imagine being a German soldier, encircled and out of supplies, or a Soviet tanker pushing through burning villages. The human cost on both sides and among civilians was staggering. Do you think Operation Bagration deserves to be as well known as D-Day? Share your thoughts in the comments. For more untold stories of World War II, subscribe and hit the bell.